High fly, not deep. Cowser getting under. Eaton back at third. He is going to bluff, and it's a really bad throw. He stays at third, though. Did not try and come home. And now they're 2 down. If he had gone, he scores.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. He doesn't go on this. Remember, we were talking about Cowser earlier in the game. Didn't have that strong arm. Remember that throw to first base when he went after Anthony. Would have scored easily. That decision's made way before you see the throw. That was a tough one there. Roman's come through so many times. 2-0, just gets underneath it, hits another 10, 15 feet to probably definitely challenge the throw.
Cowser does not have a strong arm. Throw way offline. As you mentioned, though, the decision was made before that.
Okay, so the more we talk about this, the more I wonder about what kind of information was flying around Fenway Park before the game last night. But in any case, here's where we're going to start. It is Wednesday on the Baseball Hour. Typically, Jared Carabas is with us. He obviously did the show last night. And thankfully for us, or me in particular, the Red Sox had themselves one hell of a back-breaking, kick-in-the-nuts kind of loss last night to the Baltimore Orioles over at Fenway Park. And the nature of that defeat should have you pulling your hair out. I know I would have if I had any left. 617-779-0985. So I want to hear from you, but let me start here. And I'm going to try to contain myself because a loss like this should send you into orbit. As someone once told me a long time ago when I was first getting into talk radio full time, say what you feel. Emphasis on feel. Like what was going through your gut and your head at the instant that play happened last night. And I am talking about the bottom of the 11th inning, the Red Sox trailing by a run to the Baltimore Orioles after, by the way, having stranded 8 runners combined in the 8th, 9th, and 10th innings. They had the bases loaded 3 times, once in the 8th, once in the 9th, once in the 10th, and failed to score a run. Failed to push a run across the plate. They could not get a hit with the bases loaded. They went 0 for 13 with men in scoring position. On the night, they left 13 men on base. And then in the 11th, in extra innings after the Orioles scored, the first batter of the inning, Connor Wong, bunted the ghost runner to third base. That was, Jimmy, what's Eaton's first name again?
Nate
Eaton. Nate Eaton was the ghost runner, one of the fastest guys on the roster. The Red Sox bunted him to third base. A sacrifice bunt. Now, Jimmy, I know this is baseball 101, but if I asked you, why would you bunt a runner from second base to third in a must-score situation? Why would you do that?
To get the runner to third base so that a fly ball scores him on a sacrifice fly, Tony Maz.
Okay, so that you don't need a hit to get him in, right? Absolutely, Jimmy. Sac fly. You don't need a hit to get him across the plate and to tie the game. That's why you move him there. You give up an out to move him to third so he can score on a fly ball. The Red Sox did that. Then Roman Anthony hits a fly ball to medium left center field. It was not shallow left center. It was medium left center field. And the Red Sox hold the runner and don't send him to the plate. Kyle Hudson, the third base coach, doesn't wave him in. He is then stranded there when Alex Bregman pops up to end the game and you lose to the Baltimore Orioles to drop a 2-game series to one of the worst teams in the American League this year? After having lost and given away a game to the Miami Marlins over the weekend, in which your bullpen and roster ineptitude cost you a game against them, that's how you lose? So let me ask you this, or let me say this to you again in terms that hopefully make sense, because I've watched a lot of baseball, as have many of you. The one thing I was told repeatedly by people in baseball when it came time to decide whether a guy should try to score or be held up at third base, whether he was trying to score on a hit, whether he was trying to score on a sacrifice fly, and frankly, not even on scoring plays. Sometimes where you're just going to extend and maybe get yourself into scoring position. The one thing I always heard over and over and over again was make the opposition make the play. Force the opposition to make the play. Don't just back off and give them the out and give them the run. If you get thrown out, at least you can live with the fact that they made a play. Sometimes you don't have to win the game. Sometimes you just have to force the other guy to lose it. The Red Sox did neither last night, which should piss you off to no end, especially when they're in a stretch of the season where they have 35, 36 games to go entering last night, and every win or loss counts. Every single one counts. Alex Cora was asked about the decision to not send Eaton from third last night. Here's what he said.
On that play there with Eaton at third.
That's an impact arm in center field. We prepare before the series, and we decide who we're going to challenge and not. So we didn't challenge him.
Is that maybe Eaton's call to stop, or is Leslie telling him?
We prepare before the series, and that's an impact arm, and we decided not to challenge him.
Okay, it's an impact arm. We decided not to challenge him. So those of you out there, you tell me, did they make the right choice last night? And when you talk about landmark losses in this 2025 Red Sox season, please tell me where that one ranks. Because last night, that was a freaking whopper. Boy, was that an annoying loss. Wow, was that tough to take. All the way across. You leave the bases loaded in the eighth. Nobody out. Bases loaded. You strike out 3 times in a row. Fail to put the ball in play and don't get a run home. You then again fail with the bases loaded in the 9th to score. You then fail in the 10th with the bases loaded to score when Abraham Toro hits into a double play to end the inning. So in that case, you only left 2, but you get the idea. Bases loaded in the 8th, bases loaded in the 9th, bases loaded in the 10th. You left 8 men on base. And in the 8th inning, you struck out 3 times in a row. 2 of those strikeouts by Jarren Duran and Trevor Story. Then you get to the 11th. You decide to bunt the runner to third. Roman Anthony hits a sacrifice fly. Let me take that back. Hits a fly ball into left center. Trying to get the ball in the air. Making contact. Hits the ball in the left center field. And you don't run. You keep the runner at third. The throw goes halfway up the third baseline. The run would have scored easily. So you're going to rely now on the next guy to get a hit. And it's Alex Bregman, who's a good hitter. But his chances of getting hit are somewhere around 30%. I don't even know what Bregman's batting average is here, Jimmy.
It's 290, I believe.
Okay, so he's 290. So it's 29. But I'll tell you what, 30%. He has a 30% chance of getting a hit. But the sac fly, the whole reason you set up the sac fly is so that you can score without the benefit of a hit. You then get to that point, bypass the sacrifice fly, lower your chances to score, and Bregman pops out to end the game. I'm telling you, there are times where the Red Sox invent and find ways to lose. They come up with them out of thin air. And I don't know how that kind of stuff doesn't drive you crazy when you're in the middle of a pennant race. But I want to hear from you. 617-779-0985. I want to look a little bit more closely at the at-bats by Trevor Story and by Jarren Duran in the 8th inning. They were horrible at-bats that cost the Red Sox a chance to score at that point. And if you think that a loss like that can't come back and bite your ass in terms of getting into the playoffs, believe me when I tell you you're wrong. 4 games with the Yankees coming up starting tomorrow in New York. You're now in a position where you have to win a minimum of 2. That was probably always true. But now you really can't lose 3 out of 4 or heaven forbid get swept. So I'd like to hear from you. I want to hear what you were thinking. More importantly, what you were feeling during the late innings of that game last night. 617-779-0985. Also, if we're going to probably give away a Golf Gas card later in the show as well. Typically, Trivia Tuesday is on Tuesday, but because of Jared flip-flopping his schedule, we may do that later in the show as well. 617-779-0985. We'll take your calls when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
picked him up. They released him. Orioles picked him up. It's the guy I've been waiting for all night.
Jaron Duran 0 for 3. Man struck him out on 3 pitches. Went back to the change. Big first out for Baltimore.
It was all changeups. 3 in a row.
Well, Trevor Story now, the top RBI man on the club. He is 1 for 3 tonight with a single. 7 for 12 with the bases loaded this year. And he got a foul tip to the mitt. Jackson held. Back-to-back strikeouts and 2 down.
Garcia has come in here and executed. 7 pitches, 6 strikes, locating this slider, locating that changeup to Duran. It's up to Massa to get a big 2-out hit. Can't strand the bases loaded, no outs, right?
He's had a quiet night. 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts for Masataka Yoshida. 2-2, 2 out, bases jammed. Struck him out. He strikes out 3 in a row with the bases loaded. Just a brutal inning for the Red Sox. It remains 3-1 Baltimore.
Raise your hand if you've, before last night, if you've never heard of Rico Garcia. You can't see me unless you're watching on YouTube. Jimmy Stewart, I can't see in there, but I have my hand in the air. I'd never heard of the guy. All of a sudden, he comes into a horrible situation. Bases loaded, nobody out. Bases loaded, nobody out. Holy crap. All you got to do is score, and you probably win the game. Again, the Red Sox were down at the time. It's in the 8th inning. But holy smokes. And Lou Merlone, did you hear how excited he was when Garcia came into the game? Again, Jimmy, play it again. This is great.
He's appeared in 12 games with 3 different clubs this season.
He's with the Mets, got released. Yankees picked him up. They released him. Mets picked him up. They released him. Orioles picked him up. It's the guy I've been waiting for all night.
Play the beginning again. I thought he said, did he say 3 different teams or did he say the Mets twice?
He's appeared in 12 games with 3 different clubs this season.
He's with the Mets, got released. Yankees picked him up. They released him. Mets picked him up. They released him. Orioles picked him up. It's the guy I've been waiting for all night.
Okay. So maybe the Mets picked him up twice. Maybe he was with the Mets. They released him. He went to the Yankees and he went back to the Mets. And then he went to the Orioles. Or maybe he meant the Orioles instead of the Mets. Whatever, you get the idea. The guy's moved around. He strikes out Duran on 4 pitches, strikes out Story on 3 pitches. Maybe it was the other way around.
So, Tony.
No, I take it back. He struck out Duran on 3 pitches, Story on 4 pitches. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Signed as a free agent with the Mets. Claimed off waivers from the Mets to the Yankees.
Okay.
Then the Mets claimed him back from the Yankees.
Okay.
And then the Orioles claimed him off waivers from the Mets.
Okay, so there you go. So
Lou had it right.
See. Lou had it right. Mets, Yankees, Mets, Orioles. So he's changed teams basically 4 times.
He's with the Mets, got released. Yankees picked him up. They released him. Mets picked him up. They released him. Orioles picked him up. It's the guy I've been waiting for all night.
That is so great. Oh, excellent job. Excellent job. And what happens? He comes into the game and the Red Sox can't put the ball in play. How many times have we seen that this year? Seriously? How many times have we seen it where the Red Sox can't put the ball in play to get a run home? Can't do it. And then they get into extra innings and they can't get a bunt down. But last night they did get the bunt down. A guy hits a ball that could have been a sacrifice fly, and they don't send the runner. It really is unbelievable how they find ways to lose and invent ways to lose. They sometimes can't distinguish their ass from their elbow. It's the same crap over and over again. Wow. So keep an eye on it. The stupid mistakes keep coming up. Last night, Connor Wong got a bunt down the 11th inning, first pitch. It was a good bunt, too. Right up the third baseline, made the guy field it, threw him out, he ran down the line. Good play. It was an attack, a little thing that was done to win a game. Then they got what they wanted in the fly ball, except they held the runner. Am I the only one that is flabbergasted by this? Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one. Mike in New Hampshire. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Tony, you're not the only one. One of the worst losses of the year. Never mind the 11th inning. What about the 10th inning? Runners on first and third, and they get Toro up. Fast runner Story on third, and they should have bunted then. And they don't. The guy's hitting 100 the last month. The two guys that can't hit in the lineup, Matsusaka and Toro. Why do they even stay in the lineup? It's unbelievable.
So, Mike, this is another thing, too, is at the end of the roster is a problem. And, again, there have been a number of people now that have written about this in the last couple of days. I said this a couple of days ago with Isaiah Campbell. Why is Isaiah Campbell still here? If you can't pitch Isaiah Campbell with a 5-run lead against the Miami Marlins, he can't be on the roster when you're in a pennant race. He can't be there. The only real reason you'd be able to keep him on the roster or use him in a game is if you're down 5 runs. That's it. He's a mop-up guy. And so you want to tell me you need a mop-up man on the roster? Then fine, that's the role. But when you have a lead and you can't pitch a guy with a 5-run lead against the Miami Marlins in the 9th inning, and it forces you to use Aroldis Chapman in a safe situation, and it costs you the game on Sunday as a result, that guy can't be on the team. And when they picked up Nathaniel Lowe, who, by the way, hit a 2-run homer to tie the game in the 9th inning last night, the idea was that Toro would be displaced, or so I thought. I thought the idea was get Nathaniel Lowe in the lineup, play him at first base, and Toro doesn't play. Now, from what I understand, Nathaniel Lowe, who has a Gold Glove on his resume, has been playing a garbage first base this year. So now, and again, this is further roster dysfunction, though. Think of this. You have to DH Nathaniel Lowe while you're still playing Abraham Toro at first base. You have to do that because Lowe is not ready to play first base yet. So maybe they can get his game cleaned up, get his back going, whatever. But even that feels a little dysfunctional. Let alone, and by the way, Isaiah Campbell, has since gone back to AAA. The Red Sox sent him down today, thankfully. So he's not going to pitch in New York over the weekend. Can you imagine that guy pitching at Yankee Stadium against all those left-handed batters? Holy crap. So that clearly scared the Red Sox. Ron in Worcester. Ron, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, Mass. But I got a question.
Sure.
Is Chapman only just good for 1 inning? Because when he came in that 1 inning, he really pitched well. And I thought that he would probably come out for the next inning, but he didn't. Now, is he only good for 1 inning? I mean, could you explain that to me?
Sure.
Please?
So, yeah, Ron, it's a legit question. My answer is yes. He's generally a 1-inning guy, as are most closers in Major League Baseball. Now, there are relievers who frequently go 2 innings or often go 2 innings, maybe not frequently. Or can go 2 innings. Garrett Whitlock was one of those guys for a period of time, but the Red Sox have even backed off of that. So, and honestly, with relievers, it's probably better to use them for 1 inning and more times per week than it is to use them for 2 innings and burn them for, 2 days. So, I'm okay with that. My issue is that they should have, if they're going to be in this spot of the season, competing for a playoff spot, and they can't use Isaiah Campbell when they have a 5-run lead, then he shouldn't be here. And the Red Sox should have better options at their disposal than a guy like Isaiah Campbell. I gave you this stat the other day. I'll give it to you again. Isaiah Campbell, in his career with the Red Sox, which has now spanned 2 seasons, has pitched 14 innings. Okay, 14 innings. He has an ERA of almost 12. Over the last 2 years, during the time he's been in the organization, there have been 780 pitchers who have pitched in the big leagues at least 14 innings. Okay, 780. He ranks 777th in ERA. You're telling me the Red Sox can't do better than that? That's the guy. The Red Sox have that guy on their roster. The Red Sox, not the Rays or the Pirates or the Royals or some team with real payroll restrictions. The Red Sox. Isaiah Campbell. That's the guy that's on their roster to pitch in big games down the stretch. So to me, that's a front office problem. Bobby's in Newport. Bobby, what do you got?
Hi, Tony. How you doing?
Good.
Tony, I'm going over what you've already said. First of all, I mean, that play, not right on the fly ball, that was just ridiculous. But I have never seen so many players on a team who are inept at hitting the ball. I'm not talking about getting a base hit, but making contact, Tony. Do they not have that ability as a hitter? Or does the manager communicate to them, hey, listen, we don't need you to get a base hit. Make the adjustment. Are they able to do that? Am I wrong?
No, Bobby, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And listen, again, is it emphasized to them? My understanding is that it is. That it's emphasized to the hitters. And look, they had if you remember, when they went on that 10-game winning streak, one of the things that Alex Cora said at that time, and we played the audio for you at that time, one of the things that Cora said was, we're not striking out as much. We gave you some of the numbers on this show. The strikeouts were cut down by like 30%, ballpark. Might have been 25, but whatever it was. Instead of striking out an average of 11 times a game, they were down to about 7. Pretty good. I mean, it's closer to 40, 45%. It's a significant decrease. They put the ball in play. They were scoring. They were winning. They were playing bad teams too, but you get the idea. Strikeouts went down. Results went up. Last night, nobody out. Bases loaded. Bottom of the 8th. They don't put the ball in play once. Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And the 3 guys who whiffed were Jarren Duran, Trevor Story, Masataka Yoshida. Now, Yoshida, by the time he came up, there were now 2 outs and he had to get a hit. So again, and this is also important to remember because of what happened later on. When they got the sac fly, they made contact. Roman Anthony put the ball in play, and they didn't wave the runner home. So in the 8th inning, they couldn't put the ball in play. They get to the 11th, they bunt and get the sac fly, or what should have been the sac fly, and they don't wave in the runner. So ultimately, it comes back to, I have to get a hit to get the run home. Yoshida had to get a hit to get the run home, and then it happened with Alex Bregman. Your chances of getting a hit to score a run are less than your chances of getting a sac fly or putting the ball in play. They are. And yet the Red Sox somehow managed to F it up all night for one reason or another. The at-bats by Duran and Story, I keep saying this, I want to get to. I put them on Twitter now because there was something that happened in those at-bats, and there was a common element to both of those strikeouts that I'd like to revisit and break down. I see a number of you lined up still as well. We'll get to your calls. And also, we will give away the Golf Gas card when we come back. In fact, Jimmy Stewart, let's do this now. Let's line up the callers on the contest line. that time of the week. Usually done on Tuesday, but Carabas flipped the schedule on us this week, so we moved Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Tuesday. And there'll be no baseball hour tomorrow night. That's a scheduling note because the Patriots play a preseason game. Our pregame coverage starts at 5 o'clock. So you'll get a shorter version of Felger and Maz tomorrow, 2 to 5. And then Patriots pregame right up until kickoff between the Patriots and the Giants. And again, no baseball hour, although we will be back on Friday. And yes, I will be in. I will be in the studio on Friday. Are we going to have Milliken and McCarthy this week? Any chance of a true baseball roundtable?
I believe both.
Okay, there we go. That doesn't happen often. Anyway, Trivia Tuesday presented by Gulf. You can win a $50 gas card from Gulf to fuel your way to Fenway. We'll take a maximum of 4 callers. All you have to do is answer one question. And believe me when I tell you, they're not that difficult. And typically they involve the opponent. So we'll start tonight with the opponent, meaning who the Red Sox are playing or about to play. Our first contestant tonight, John in Warwick. John, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Yankees obviously had a famous catcher and Hall of Famer whose name was Yogi Berra. I believe he won 10 World Series, was renowned for making some, I'll call them witty or humorous comments over the course of his career. What was Yogi Berra's real first name?
Oh, geez. Lawrence, right?
Lawrence is correct. He looked it up on his phone. Stay right there. It's all right. You got it quickly. You beat the clock. I'm guessing he looked it up on his phone. What do you think, Jimmy?
I say I don't care because the Red Sox, they play it square, fair, right down the middle, Tony. So I think we should give it to him.
Okay, give it to him. But it is.
And even if he used Kyle Hudson to steal signs, I'm okay with it because he won.
Okay, so it is. It's Lawrence. Lawrence is the right answer. While we're at it, can I ask you a couple of other questions that we have? McCarthy's back there. He likes these. These are the other questions that we had prepared for the week. How many World Series did Derek Jeter win?
6.
5. 5 is the correct answer. I can't believe you got that wrong. 5. Okay.
I'm not a Yankee fan like you, Maz.
Jim Murray submitted this one. This is too easy. I mean, you guys are going to know this. The listeners may not, particularly the younger ones. Which pair of baseball brothers spent time on opposite sides between Boston and New York during the 1940s?
The DiMaggios.
Of course. DiMaggio brothers. Okay, these two I like. Which former Yankees pitcher won 2 games for New York in the 1977 World Series, then signed with the Red Sox during the offseason as a free agent, and subsequently allowed Bucky Dent's back-breaking home run in the 1978 one-game playoff? Do you guys know the answer to that? Okay, don't answer it then. Maybe a caller will give it to us. I'll leave that one hanging out there. Last one I have for you guys is this one. Red Sox and Yankees, in their history, have played 24 postseason games against one another. Okay, 24 postseason games. Which team has the edge in victories? Okay, those are the 2 questions I'm throwing out there. You don't get a prize for those, but I'm just going to chuck them out there. Jimmy, don't look that up. John in a car on the Red Sox lost last night. Go ahead, John.
I'll ask Kyle Hudson.
Tony, I believe Mike Torres gave the home run up.
Mike Torres is the right answer. That is correct. He went
number 21 before Roger Clemens, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and he signed. The Red Sox signed him as a free agent because he was awesome in the World Series. He had a great October, and they signed him and brought him here as a free agent. In any case, that's right, John. But go ahead. Why'd you call?
And Dent scored the only home run that would score there, like Rafaela did earlier this year. Tony, what I thought of when they lost the game last night was they cheaped out again. There were deals to be made, not only at the deadline, before the deadline, a couple weeks before when the team was red hot. You don't always have to wait to the deadline. You could be first to the dance. Make the deal that you need to make for yourself to make yourself better, set the market before anybody else goes jumping into the pool. And again, they get the Class B, Class C guy instead of going to get the guy that's going to make them go over the top. And again, it's the same old situation. Mediocre bullpen arms. You gave yourself no offensive help other than a guy you picked up yesterday off the scrap heap, who, believe me, in the long run is going to be much more disappointing than he is, fruitful. So that's what I thought of as just another opportunity lost by the front office.
Okay, so John, I'll tell you what, you just triggered a thought in my head. Maybe I'll get to more on this later in the week. But you tell me now. I don't know, do you miss Rafael Devers in these games? Red Sox haven't been able to hit and get a big hit with a guy in a key spot. All of a sudden, could you use that Devers bat? I'm just asking. I'll look up some of the numbers. Maybe we'll get to this later in the week. But when you can't score against the Orioles and the Marlins and you're having some of these tight losses and you can't get runs across, you can't make contact, you can't hit a pitch unless it's right down the middle, I don't know, could you use Rafael Devers? Just a question. Jeff in Boston on Trevor's story. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Maz, and I will say I missed Devers immediately. That's the first thing I thought of last night after that. But I know you mentioned Story's at-bat in the 8th inning. I think his at-bat in the 9th inning was worse. The Orioles pitcher had given up the game-tying home run and then walked 3 straight guys, truly just melting down. And Story, instead of taking a pitch, just unloads on a first pitch and puts himself behind and chased another one to ground out to end the inning. I mean, high school baseball players get cut for doing stuff like that, swinging, after a guy walks the bases loaded.
So, Jeff, you're the second person that has brought up that at bat today, and you're not wrong to bring it up. And I would tell you that I thought Story got exposed in the late innings of that game like crazy. So you want to go back to the 8th inning, and I mentioned this with Jarren Duran as well. Jarren Duran struck out on 4 pitches. Okay, 4. I'm sorry, I keep getting that backwards. Jarren Duran struck out on 3 pitches. They were all changeups. Trevor Story struck out on 4, the majority of which were sliders. They might have been all sliders. But here's the point. In the case of Duran and Story, neither one of them could cover the outside corner. That's what it comes down to. Jarren Duran was 3 changeups. One of them was actually in the middle of the plate, and he missed it. So you can look back, and these are things that we overlook during the course of a game, but because there were lots of mistakes that get made that aren't as glaring as, not tagging up from third base or failing to get a bunt down or what have you. There was a changeup, smack dab in the middle of the plate, that Jarren Duran flat out missed. Didn't even make contact. So that's number one. Neither one of those guys can cover the outside corner. And you know why they can't? Because it feels to me like they are so intent on hitting fastballs that they cheat. And they make themselves vulnerable to off-speed pitches away. So watch Duran. And I put these on Twitter. You can find them on my Twitter handle. They're side by side. Duran, on pitches away, is often sort of, leaning on his right leg. He's sort of pulling off the plate. I think Story's worse, and there are times when both guys will hit the ball to the other field, or the opposite field, but there are other times where they get pull happy, mostly because they're geeked up for the fastball. Last night was one of those nights. Duran peeled off, couldn't cover the outside corner. Story does it constantly, and it's more pronounced and more visible. And the opposition knows it. And in big spots, Trevor Story has failed in those late and close situations as defined by Baseball Reference. So you can give me all kinds of numbers you want with Story. Runners in scoring position with 2 outs. And I'm telling you, they all have some value. But the late and close ones factor in late in the game, probably facing the bullpen, and you're going to see fastballs. And that's when those guys cheat. They cheat in those situations because you see more velocity, I think, late in the game. 617-779-0985. We'll get back to your calls. I see you, a couple of you there, and wrap it up on the baseball hour when we come back.
This is
Off night for the Red Sox. They'll gear it up again tomorrow. 4 games with the Yankees this weekend, and the ramifications of that series could be major. Again, these are 2 teams now fighting for that top wild card spot. If one team were to significantly damage the other, and I say win 3 out of 4, or heaven forbid sweep. I say heaven forbid. If you sweep, it's not heaven forbid. You put a real hole in the Yankees. Either way, you could put yourself in a much better position or hurt your chances to be that top wildcard team. And being that top wildcard team does make a difference. You would get home field in the wildcard series, meaning it's a 3-game series and you would host all 3 games. And you heard me right. The 3-game series would all be played at Fenway Park. You don't have to go on the road at all. All you have to do is win 2 out of 3 at home. That's it. And you get to the AL Division Series. Before we wrap it up, Steve's in Framingham. Steve, go ahead.
Hey, Maz. I remember playing basketball with you back at a fairgrounds in Fairbanks in Sudbury. You were a real blue-collar type of player. But, hey, this was calling. I disagree with the takes. I think there were 2 plays that were much more severe to that loss yesterday. The double play by Abraham, that was terrible. The 3 consecutive strikeouts. I think the flyout, there was the right call to hold him because you had Bregman coming up at bat, and if he got thrown out at plate with Bregman waiting in on the on-deck circle, everybody would be screaming at the third base coach.
So, Steve, you're probably right. We would have bitched either way. But in the same breath, I will tell you, when you bunt the guy to third and you get a fly ball to left center field that is of medium depth, send the guy home. So, and I said this earlier, and I want to investigate it further. Both Lou Merloni and Dave O'Brien said during the play that the center fielder, Kauser, for the Orioles last night did not have a good throwing arm. Now, the Red Sox said the opposite, that he has an impact throwing arm. And the arm looked plenty strong to get the ball to the plate. So here's my question. Where was the communication gap? In other words, did Merloni and O'Brien say that he had a bad throwing arm because he's inaccurate? And they got, what was relayed to them is that, yeah, he has a big arm, but he doesn't know where it's going. And do the Red Sox know that? Because they said he has an impact arm. So what does that mean? Like, something went sideways there. I'm going to try to find out more about it. But either the Red Sox heard that he had a big arm and didn't know he was inaccurate, or, and I'm not blaming the broadcasters for it, or they got some bad info. And if it's bad info on the part of the broadcasters, fine. I'm more interested in the other thing. Does he have a big arm, but he doesn't know where it's going? In which case, then you send the runner for sure. Part of me wonders if the Red Sox effed up that scouting report. Okay, I wonder. Anyway, Matt McCarthy will have you for the balance of the night. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. No baseball hour tomorrow. Again, we have Patriots pregame starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow, going right into the game between the Patriots and the Giants. But the baseball hour will be back on Friday. We catch you then.